Welcome to the Boat Galley podcast. I'm Carolyn Shearlock, here with tips, reviews, and how-tos for your cruising adventure. The Boat Galley podcast is sponsored by Boat Affair. Make 2018 a year filled with extraordinary experiences on the water. Boat Affair, a boutique boat and experience sharing company, invites you on a one-of-a-kind adventure. Visit boataffair.com today. Make sure to mention Boat Galley 18 to get a 5% exclusive discount. Slow down, slow down. Yes, cooking on a boat is different from cooking ashore. Last time I talked about not being able to run out to a store for anything you may have forgotten, limited space in the galley, and doing more cooking from scratch. Yes, it's different, but not insurmountable. This time, I'll talk about 3 more challenges. First, no electrical appliances. Many cooks find the idea of no, or very few, electrical appliances to be even more intimidating than the idea of cooking from scratch. And many find the combination overwhelming. But virtually anything that you can do with an electrical appliance, you can do by hand. There are 2 critical keys to success. First is having good tools. Sharp knives can replace a food processor. A good mixing spoon and potato masher can do the work of an electric mixer, and so on. Secondly, you need recipes designed to be made by hand. While you can mix almost anything by hand, it'll be a lot easier if you use recipes made for hand mixing. This is a big focus of the Boat Galley cookbook. Next, the motion of the boat. And this may be one of the biggest things. Everything you do is affected by the motion of the boat, some days more than others. We first cruised on a monohull and now on a catamaran, and I still have to be careful. Catamarans may have less motion, but that doesn't mean there's none. Things like standing or needing a hand to hold on with, pots sliding on the stove, bowls and cutting boards sliding on the counter, bottles tipping over, and holding a knife are all affected by the motion of the boat. Then there can be stowage issues. Produce bruising, pans and plates clanking in lockers, items breaking or becoming missiles. It's all a challenge. The first week is a huge learning curve, as is the first bit of rough weather. But it's really not that bad once you get the hang of a few coping techniques. First, you have to always be thinking about the fact that the boat could move and think about the consequences for anything you do. In time, it just comes naturally, don't worry. You always have to assume that the boat is going to move erratically. Use things like stove gimbals, pot restraints, and the like, no matter what the conditions are. Even in a calm anchorage, a fishing boat or jet ski can come flying by and put up a big wake. Never set anything down where it's not restrained, particularly things that could create injury or a big mess if they fell. Things like knives, boiling water, and anything in glass. Use non-slip materials liberally. Cutting boards with non-slip edges, knives with non-slip handles, dishes with non-slip materials on the bottom, and so on. Also, try to sit down when you can. When you can't, find ways to brace yourself so that the boat rolls you won't lose your footing. It's particularly important when you're doing something that could result in an injury, such as using a knife or pouring boiling water. And speaking of boiling water, always put the dish that you are pouring it into down into the sink so that any splashes will be contained and away from you. Water is the final one too, a limited supply of water. Even if you have a water maker, chances are you don't have as much water as you'd really like. That water maker does take power to operate. It's not unlimited. The limited water supply has to be used for drinking and cooking, as well as washing produce, hands, and dishes, not to mention showers. The 2 biggest things that you can do to conserve water are first, not to waste it. Don't run the faucet longer than it needs to. Don't cook food in more water than it needs. Don't make more coffee or other drinks than people really will drink. And then, reuse water when you can.
Use the pasta water to pre-rinse dishes before washing them, or to make bread. Ditto for the leftover coffee. Use the liquid drained from the can of mushrooms in the spaghetti sauce. It'll also add some extra flavor. And then there's the heat in the boat. The biggest source of heat in the boat is the galley. On a hot day, you're trying to keep as much of that heat out of the boat, and on a chilly day, you're trying to keep it all in. Without air conditioning or an auxiliary heater, the cooking takes on a bigger role in staying comfortable. On hot days, try to use the stove or oven as little as possible. Eat cold foods, cook on the grill, and if you do use the stove, pick foods that cook fast. For example, choose pasta over slow-cooking brown rice. A couple of good 12-volt fans and a wind scoop will help, too. Cold days are the time to indulge your cooking desires. Make soups and stews that need to cook for a long time. Bake bread and cookies. You can eat well while you're staying warm. A lot of the articles that I have on the Boat Galley deal with various aspects of these differences between cooking on a boat and cooking ashore. To be sure, there are challenges, but without challenges, there are no accomplishments. I find the very conditions that make cooking aboard more challenging also lead us to eating better, with less junk food and more real food. Until next time, then. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please be sure to subscribe in your podcast app. Just search for the Boat Galley Podcast. And reviews are always appreciated. Until next time, then.
Slow down, slow down.